Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan, and the WGA's writer strike has officially begun in Hollywood. Now, there's a lot of misconceptions surrounding this strike, and a lot of people with some false notions about the repercussions for this writer strike. From an audience perspective, there are very few positives to come out of this. There's not anything being done for the audience. This is all for Hollywood making itself more money. From the audience side of things, there's a few glimmers like, oh, I can glean some positivity from this, but it doesn't actually benefit me type positives, which I'll get into in a moment. But the biggest caveat in all this that I want to address, the biggest misconceptions that I want to address, is the idea that this will be the big break. This will be the big opportunity for independent writers, Iron Age writers, to break into the industry and finally get into big starry-eyed Hollywood. That is not the case, at least when we look back to the 2007-2008 writer strike. That isn't what happened then, and I don't think it's going to happen now either. Writers are not just suddenly bursting into the industry when a writer strike occurs, because the studios have agreements with these unions, which still stands, which requires them to hire union workers only. And that is the main ace in the hole. That is the main negotiation power that these unions have right now, is those agreements. Without those agreements, these studios could just say, all right, if you don't want to work for us, you don't work for us, we'll find somebody else. But those agreements make the studios have to come to the negotiation table with these writers' unions. It makes them come to the table with these unions and gives the unions the power to basically ask for whatever they want. So if you're an Iron Age writer, if you're an independent writer who thinks this is your big opportunity, your big break, that is not going to be what you see whatsoever. This isn't your chance, and that sucks to say, but that is the nature of business in Hollywood. What we actually saw in the 2007-2008 writer strike was shortened seasons, shortened episodes, canceled shows, canceled productions, stuff like that, and that's exactly what I believe we're going to see here, and we're already beginning to see it. Leading into one of our few positives from the situation is the fact that things are going to start getting canceled. Specifically, all the late night shows have been canceled up to this point, which means no more Jimmy Fallon, no more Jimmy Kimmel, no more Seth Meyers, and that is a glorious thing to see because the audience is spared watching more of that garbage. So that is a glimmer of positivity shining through all this, and there's other shows that's going to be canceled or at least delayed in tandem with that. So that is one of the main positives from the audience perspective, and slowing things down isn't necessarily a bad thing in this current era because a lot of these franchises are just spamming out content, doing quantity over quality, and Marvel has been the biggest proponent of that type of mentality. So if we can just slow down a little bit, spare the audience from the constant deluge of sludge getting pumped into their screens, maybe there's a little bit of a chance for a brief reprieve. I don't think that's going to overall change the quality of these stories. I don't think it's going to fix these franchises to slow down a little bit, but the audiences will be spared the constant deluge, and that is a positive if nothing else. And the only other positive that I can see in the situation besides those I've already mentioned is the entertainment value, because this is Hollywood eating itself alive. This is Hollywood fighting each other. Yes, it's for more money, and probably in the end, these writers are going to win this strike, but it is kind of entertaining sometimes to see Hollywood eat its own, and so there's entertainment value in that nonetheless. Now, the writers, they're asking for something very unique right now, because as someone who used to work for the US government, and big studios operate in a very similar manner, it takes them a long time to account for new technologies, new ways of doing things when it comes to policy. So with the advent of the streaming wars, these studios haven't implemented policies, at least in agreement with these unions, to account for the changes in revenue that come with the streaming wars, the way that things change in accordance to that. And the writers are just asking, hey, streaming is different than movies. We're not making much money. We want a higher percentage of the streaming profit capital. And in and of itself, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but the problem is these writers aren't as good as they used to be. So do they deserve the additional money? Even normies that I know, people who I just meet on the street, have come to recognize that the quality of writing in Hollywood has dipped so substantially. And there's a financial aspect of that is coming in tandem with it. Things just aren't making as much money as they used to be. Even when they do make money, there is a legitimate argument to be made about inflation and other caveats to it that say, yes, they might be successful compared to the current things that are coming out, but they aren't as successful as they would have been if they'd come out a few years ago, because the writing quality has dipped so substantially that the audience is just checking out in droves. So at this point, when financials are in a very risky situation where they're already on a precarious ledge in Hollywood with the audience, the writers strike and ask for more money. It's just a very dangerous situation for Hollywood to be in, and I'm very interested to see how it all plays out. I'm sure the writers are going to win this strike. I'm sure they're going to come out of these negotiations on top. But at the end of the day, this is a very inopportune moment because the audience isn't going to get anything better out of all this. These writers still aren't capable of writing anything of better quality. So more money isn't going to increase the quality of the product, at least in my personal opinion. Now, I'm sure that there are a ton of great and talented writers who are a part of the union at the WGA, but they're not the ones being hired by the studios. And after the strike, it's still most likely going to be the same writers hired by the studios for these big budget productions. So nothing is going to change. The only thing that's going to affect the audience overall is those positives that I mentioned earlier, the slowing of content and a little bit of entertainment value from seeing Hollywood fight itself. But overall, this is not going to change the state of Hollywood. This isn't going to fix anything. This isn't going to, for example, make Star Wars suddenly hire great writers and fix the franchise. No, not at all. And this isn't going to be an opportunity for independent writers, Iron Age writers, to break into the industry, to get into these big franchises and change it from the inside. That's not what we saw in 2007, 2008. That's not what we're going to see right now. There's not going to be a whole lot of change that happens here because those union agreements with the studios stop the studios from doing any drastic changes during the strike. And then these writers are still the same writers once they come back from the strike. So nothing is going to change at all. It's still entertaining. I'm still going to be following this news and seeing how it plays out, but I have no hope that anything positive beyond the slight enjoyment and the slight reprieve will come out of this entire situation. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Anon.
Hey, yo, are you feeling what I'm doing up in here? Oh, I know you are. Do you miss all the good, compelling stories that we used to get back in Hollywood that they ain't putting down no more? Oh, I know you missing it. So check out my book series, Odyssey of a Phoenix, a mythological epic about philosophy, morality, and modern-day mental illness issues, baby. Book 1, Down in Flames. Book 2, Apocalypse Then. These are currently on sale. What are you waiting for? Get your hands on them. And we got Book 3, Kill the Dark, is coming down the pipeline. Just wait for all the good stuff that's dropping. You ain't gonna be disappointed, fam.